This is a proclamation from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of King Herod, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star at its rising, and have come to do him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was greatly troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Assembling all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the child was to be born. They said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it has been written through the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. Since from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and ascertained from them the time of the star's appearance. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search diligently for the child. When you have found him, bring me word, that I too may go and do him homage." After their audience with the king, they set out. And behold, the star they had seen at its rising preceded them, until it came and stopped over the place where the child was. They were overjoyed at seeing the star, and on entering the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother. They prostrated themselves and did him homage. Then they opened their treasures and offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed for their country by another way. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord.
As I mentioned at the beginning of Mass, this is really the end of the Christmas season and a really important day for us Gentiles, because we are represented at the Christmas scene by the astrologers, the Magi from the east, and our Jewish brothers and sisters were represented by the shepherds as they came to find and to worship the newborn King. But what's important, I think, is to know that Jesus understands and speaks to every human being at every stage of a person's life. Those who have the blessing of being mature of age, your call is to share your wisdom with those who are younger. The middle-aged have a call to responsibility and service. The young people, they must hear the call for that unique vocation that they are seeking in their lives, that will shape and direct them for the rest of their lives. The kings came, or the astrologers, came bearing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. We don't bring those gifts today ourselves. What we bring is really even a more precious gift. It is our hearts. It's our very selves that we come and offer to God when we worship. Question might be, to what is God calling you? To what is God calling me? And how are we going to use the gift of this new year that lies ahead of us? Like the Magi of old, we are on a journey, searching for signs of God and His love along the way. The ancient Israelites realized that God had chosen them to reflect His light and His truth in the world. They also came to understand that they were privileged to be part of this plan that God had for the salvation of all people. This required them to include everybody, not just themselves. And that was something that took a while. They knew that they were the chosen people, but to understand that everyone's been called, that took some time to realize. At the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games, I will have an opportunity to see those again this year because in the summer the Olympic Games are being held in London. But at the beginning of the Olympics, there was that wonderful parade of all the athletes, and they come into the stadium, and everyone is high as a kite and happy and rejoicing, and they wave the flags of their country. It's really a great celebration. It's really the secular liturgy at its very best. It's kind of like the great entrance procession to begin the celebration of what is the best in all of the countries who come to participate. And there in the stadium and throughout the Olympic Village and in all the sporting venues, at least for those couple of weeks, political differences are to be put aside. And animosity between countries is gone. And they celebrate together in the Olympic spirit with honor and dignity. It's really a wonderful, wonderful celebration. Well, Isaiah, in our first reading today, sets before us an international gathering of people. But it's not a sporting event that's drawing all of the nations to Jerusalem. It's the glory of God that's being reflected in the good things that God has done for Israel. And everyone seeing this is now drawn to God. God intends all nations to share in his friendship and his love. And so our ancestors in the faith were challenged to be kind and welcoming to everyone, and so are we. We have to carry on the spirit of what began in Jesus' ministry when he began to announce the news that everyone is called into God's kingdom. Even those people who seem to have very little value as far as society sees it, certainly not as God sees it. During his public ministry, Jesus would over and over and over again speak of how salvation is for all of God's people, including those people that the religious leaders looked down upon because they found them unworthy or useless. I mean, they were just common sinners, and they didn't want to have anything to do with them. It's precisely the sinners that Jesus is welcoming into the kingdom. That's the reason he came. So Isaiah's vision of a whole host of nations coming home to God really began with Jesus and his public ministry. So the continuation of that hope, that dream for all people, is something that we must continue. We who have the privilege of believing in God and believing in Jesus. And that was celebrated in today's second reading, when Paul reminded the Ephesians and all of us that it's been God's plan all along that all human beings would be embraced by his love, his mercy, and salvation. We might tend to think, well, yeah, that's good, but certainly God doesn't intend tyrants of these countries that are existing in the world today. They're certainly not included. Or there's no place for atheists in this picture. Or God certainly didn't intend for his chosen people to rub elbows with those who would be disreputable. But that's precisely the point. It is for everyone. All people are called to belong to God's kingdom. Salvation is offered to all God's people. So by virtue of our baptism, and we're reminded of the baptism here today, we are called to let the light of Christ reflect in our lives. Remember, Jesus said, "You are the light of the world." The Lord depends upon us now to be the light that leads people to Christ, just as the star led those astrologers to Christ. Aware that sometimes human beings can have hearts that are dark, we pray today that our lives will be lit again, that our lives will be lit up by Christ, who is the true light, and that by God's grace we will let that light shine throughout this new year and until there is no more darkness. May this celebration of the Epiphany be for us give us a sense of encouragement and hope as we work to bring everyone into God's embrace. Amen. God bless you.